Welcome to WLNM, the web novel and manga review, hosted by Zeke Changuris.
Welcome to WLNM, the web light novel and manga review. We are dedicated to bringing our listeners the very special artists and writers that are part of this amazing explosion of creativity, giving us stories to entertain and inspire us. We'd like to welcome C.S. Mills, the author of the original English light novels, Beyond the Dome, A Blue Collar Hero, and You're So Dreamy. Welcome to the podcast.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Always wanting to talk to more authors every day, and I love getting to get inside y'all's head and figure out what makes you tick. Yes, and sometimes it's just caffeine. I understand that too.
Most of the time.
So, how would you describe? Give me a quick plot summary of Beyond the Dome, A Blue Collar Hero.
Well, it's basically about a boy called Kai, who's on a journey to find his dad. And basically, they're under a dome, and it's been built by people with powers. They were able to synthesize with creatures from the outside world, which have been dangerous. So they basically were able to put themselves in a dome for safety. And it's his journey just to discover, basically, a 16-year-old gets thrust into, training grounds and figuring out his powers, and just a few twists and turns here and there. And it's basically about his journey to find his dad, and what he learns about with the head of the dome. And I don't want to give too much away.
Okay, that's fine. What would you say your inspiration for that story was? Did something like strike you in the middle of the night?
I think it was more to do with when I was watching Hunter x Hunter.
Okay.
I really liked his Gon's journey finding his dad. It is just the whole adventure with Hunter x Hunter. And that's what I kind of wanted to put into Beyond the Dome. And when I finally get around to writing volumes 2 and 3, I want to build it that way. I want to build the whole adventure and just how fun it was.
Hey, that sounds, you always want to try and flesh out those universes, don't you?
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, adding more layers sometimes can be the hardest part. So what got you started writing? Were you always one of those people who wrote, or is it something you kind of came to later?
I came to it much later, but I when I was young, I knew that I loved to write. I loved to write poetry mostly when I was young. And then back in 2015, 16, I was going through a bit of a hard time. It was just a couple years after I moved to America, and I just started to write my thoughts and just things that came to me at night. And that's kind of how I came up when I watched Hunter x Hunter, and I was like, wow, I really want to make a story about this. I really want to just show my creative talents through my writing. And it was a little difficult at first. I did a little studying on some things, and I think it's just a process. The more you read and the more you write, the better you get.
Yeah, I found a lot of the best writers are the ones that read a lot. Yes. Yeah, I am I'm a frustrated artist in that I started out everyone thinking that I was going to go into art, and I even went to art school for 2 years, and we realized that I'm better a storyteller in the more traditional written sense than I am as an artist. So it's, we all have to find our strength somewhere, and it's not always the easiest route to get there. Um,
No, I didn't think that I'd be writing at all. I went to school for performing arts and dance, and I wanted to be mostly a dancer. Um, that didn't happen. And I ended up moving to America, and I'm I'm very happy with the fact that I get to write, that I
I,
found that.
yeah, I mean, it for a lot of us, it's we've always had stories, we just never put them on paper. And
Yes.
I found, my first book. It took me, well, my first published book. It took me almost 10 years from beginning to end, but it was the amount of pride I still have in it
Hmm.
is immense, because that was a story that really was dear to my heart, that I wanted to put out there, for other
Yeah.
people to see. And
Hmm.
it is something special when you can sit and put those words on paper. Uh, what
Yes, yes, it is.
what inspires you to write in general? I mean, is it just the need to um, create an adventure or a journey, or do you get anything, I guess, lack of a better term, therapeutic out of it? Is it like writing is it gives you a chance to get some sort of catharsis? Because sometimes,
Yeah, I think it can be therapeutic for me. Especially I find that on the hard days when I feel like I can't write anything, I have writer's block and nothing's coming out and I'm frustrated that day. Usually a couple days after, the day after, when I've just kind of worked out through more of my emotions, it's like something's been lifted off and I can just throw everything out
yeah.
on paper. Sometimes I even like even the story that I'm working on, I put that aside and I just write something different just to get some things that I'm working on, out.
Okay, so, well, thinking of it that way, do you tend to, are you one of those writers that like to map everything out, or are you more of a discovery writer in which you develop the characters and you have an idea where it goes, but the
Hmm.
characters really lead you to?
Yes, I'm definitely that way. I have a hard time planning everything. I feel like it's funny because I'm a lot like that in like my real life. I have a schedule and I stick to it and I plan a lot. But with my writing, I just let it take me. Just whatever comes out for my first draft, I just kind of put it down and then rehash it later on.
Does it, do you write things that surprise you writing that way? Do you find yourself being like, oh, wow, that, that I
Yes,
didn't expect that to
sometimes.
happen?
Yes, sometimes I have to go back and re-figure out my why with my characters. That's a hard part for me. I want them to have a drive, like a why behind they're doing the things that they're doing. Because with my writing style, I do find that sometimes I can take over, and
Okay.
I don't want that to happen. I want my characters to be able to lead the story.
You want them to go in a natural direction as opposed to
Yeah.
kind of shoehorning a reason in for what they're doing, as opposed to it making
Yes.
sense.
Yes. Which I feel like I have done in the past with a few of my works. Yeah.
Yeah, many of us are guilty of that, because we're like, oh,
Hmm.
we that finish line. We look at the finish
Uh-huh.
line and we're like, okay, we're almost there. We're almost there. How the
Yeah.
hell do I get there? Oh, if we do this, we can get there.
Yep.
But it doesn't necessarily make 100% sense for our
No.
characters to do that.
No.
So, are well, you definitely do a first draft. Are you a multi-draft writer? Are you one of those people who keep rewriting the whole thing again and again, or are you
Yes.
kind of,
Yes. I
yeah?
nitpick at it. I write my first draft and then I put it away for a week or so, and then I reread it, and then I kind of go through it and like mark down things that I need to change, and then I let it sit again. And then I did for a while print it off every time I had to edit it, and then mark what I wanted to edit with a pen and then go back to it on the laptop. But it was just so tedious and it took me forever. But I do try and do that way with my last edit. So then I can read it out loud. I like having it on the paper and I read it out loud and I think, oh, does this sentence, is this flowing or is it like hard for me to say? And then I go through it with a red pen.
Yeah. Do you have someone you trust that works as a reader for you?
I have a few. Yeah, I
Yeah.
have a few guys that I send them to and I'm like, oh, does this make sense? Josh being one of them. He's helped me out a lot. And my friend Melanie, and she's been really great. She helped me a lot on Beyond the Dome.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's really important to have someone that you trust and who understands the way you write. My wife is that person for me. She understands all the idiosyncrasies in my writing because I am not a naturally good when it comes to grammar. She's able to interpret what I write and then be like, yeah, we're going to rephrase this. Is this what you're saying? Because it's not what you said, but it makes sense that you're trying to say this. And so it helps that she understands where I'm going with things, because sometimes we don't always write.
You want someone to be gentle with you as well.
Yes. Even though we may be torturing them after they've committed to reading your work and being like, yeah, okay, let's read some more, and even if it might be painful for them, we definitely it definitely is helpful to have that kind of person in your life that you can get an honest opinion from, and they'll be like, yeah, that doesn't make any sense, and you've got to be open to that, because we get full of ourselves sometimes as writers.
Yeah, and there's definitely a lot of things that we miss and that we think makes a lot of sense until somebody points it out and says, well, actually what you wrote doesn't.
Or because we have it all in our head. We already know what the character is thinking and why they might be doing it. But if we hadn't put it on the page, that anybody else reading it is like, huh?
Yeah.
So, what is your favorite kind of scene to write? What kind of a writer are you? Are you a writer who likes to write dialogue? Do you like to write action? Do you like the world building part the most? What is your favorite part of what favorite kind of scene?
I think I like to write action scenes mostly. I like to listen to kind of classical music when I write. I can't listen to anything really that has any words in it because I get so distracted. So I like to listen to classical music while I write action scenes. But it's hard for me to write down. I have it all in my head, and I feel like when the music kicks in, it's so much better for me than to write dialogue. I'm the worst at dialogue.
Well, hey, we each have our strong points. I mean, I think for me, action is probably the weakest because I try and make it make too much sense, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
And so I get bogged down in detail as opposed to writing punchy dialogue, which is the kind of thing I like.
Oh, really? So, with dialogue, for me, I feel like I kind of like, what do I say? Like, what do they say to each other? Like, it's hard for me to put down how they're feeling.
Okay. Without like putting a lot of exposition in there. And yes, it's dialogue for me. It some of it comes from my favorite writers, and my favorite modern writer is Aaron Sorkin. I love Aaron Sorkin. I love all the dialogue, the pithiness, the quickness of the wit, and so that has an influence on me. But it's just something that I have these conversations in my head, As
Yeah.
as the comic Tracy Ullman used to put it, she's a paid schizophrenic. I mean, they pay her to play all these different personalities. And as writers, that's kind of what we end up doing, is we have all these voices in our heads and we just try and get them down on paper. So what kind of authors do you admire? Who do you read to or who influenced you as a writer?
I think for me, I really I forgot what his name is. He wrote The Trumpet of the Swan. E.B. White, a few of his things,
Okay.
Charlotte's Web.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a children's author. Just the simple way that he writes, and that you can just, for me, the feeling that he puts through with his words just always moves me.
Yeah, I mean, I remember reading Charlotte's Web, but that was probably almost 35 years ago at this point. So
Yeah.
I can't quite remember. Of course, I remember the plot. I remember Wilbur, the incredible pig, but I can't tell you I can't tell you what the word said on the page. Except I'm pretty sure, spectacular pig was in there somewhere. But yeah. Did you find that that writing style has influenced you at all, or is it just a place of comfort that you?
It's a place of comfort, definitely a place of comfort for me.
Yeah. So how about, what are you, any modern writers that you're interested in? Any contemporary stuff that you've been looking at?
Not as of late. I've been really into just a lot of manga lately.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I've been trying to pick up on Hunter x Hunter and Demon Slayer.
Okay. All right.
Now.
Yeah. I read copious amounts of light novels and manga.
Yes.
Though I will say, there are some things that I reread. I just finished rereading the Rosario vampire manga series, which I think this will make the third time I've read that. And there are some that just I keep going back to. Like I'm reading I decided to go ahead and read the Sword Online progressive novel series.
Yes.
Since they're going to make that an anime. I'm like, okay, I read the originals, but now the progressive is supposed to be more detailed about things that they skimmed over. So maybe I should read this. And so I'm reading that. And it drives my wife nuts because I read like 3 books at a time.
Oh, wow.
It's just like watching TV. I mean, I don't get confused. I get some strange dreams because I do read late at night, but yeah.
I do find with the Sword Art Online, the books are so much more detailed, and I definitely preferred them more to the anime.
Yeah, I mean, and though the fact that you use the term detail is really interesting, because someone once broke down the differences between the illustrations in general. The illustrations they were using Shield Hero as an example, and they're showing Naofumi's character design, and they showed in the light novel how detailed everything was that he was wearing. And they showed in the manga it was a little less detailed, and then they showed in the anime it was even more streamlined, because if you think about it, the number of times you have to draw it. In the manga, you don't have to draw as many times as you do in the light novel. In the anime, you need to draw all that detail 24 frames, 24 times a second, basically. So yeah, you have to streamline it. And I think that's the same for plot, because sometimes you're just not gonna be able to put all of that on TV.
Yes, no, I agree.
Yeah, anything you're looking forward to seeing in this coming season, or something that you heard about that you're interested in watching?
Oh gosh, yes. The God of High School.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was one of those great examples of webtoon making big.
Yes, because I watched Tower of God and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, and they've kind of adapted a unique style too. Like, it has the same artistic style, which I thought was interesting. That's how they decided to approach it, because they didn't have to have a similar style, even though they were both originals funded by Crunchy, and they came from manhwas. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all of that, the success of these new entry level these stories that are coming from other than the production committee method that is to me still a anachronistic way of making anime, but whatever.
Oh, and the last season of Attack on Titan.
Oh yeah, well, yes, I think most of us are looking forward to that one. It took me longer to get into Attack on Titan than other people, because the first few episodes were just so brutal and gory. All I could think was that it was a gore fest, and I wasn't interested in a gore fest.
Yeah.
But now, the more things went on, it became more about the interpersonal relationships. It became, the Titans weren't the thing that was the most dangerous thing there. It was the people were just as dangerous. And so I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, because I made sure not to look at the final mangas. So
yes, my sister has read it, and she's just, I'm just like, no spoilers, please, just don't know.
Yeah, we do our best to hide from the spoilers. Trust me. When Origuru was wrapping up, hiding from those spoilers was difficult. So yeah, we all have we all love good stories, and I think that's what it all comes down to. And that's why you do what you do. I do what I do, because we like hearing how other people imagine things to be.
Yes.
Let's see. Anything else? Anything you'd like to promote? Anything you'd like to encourage us to do?
I've just not really at the moment. I'm just trying to get through. I am kind of working on something a little bit. I'm hoping to get it all kind of sorted out before November, to try and write it for National Writing Month.
Okay.
Hopefully then maybe I can share a little bit more.
Okay, that sounds great. And of course, we can find you on Twitter at Light Novelist 90. We can find you on Instagram. We can find you on Facebook, and also at alightnovelist.com. So, and I'm so happy that you could take the chance to talk with me today. As I keep saying, every creator's voice deserves a chance to be heard. And that's why I do this, because I love talking to creators, and I want every one of them to feel special and appreciated, because giving stories to the world is a blessed thing, as a friend of mine once said. So if you like what you're listening to today, go ahead and take a look at our backlog. We've got 13 other episodes so far, and subscribe to WLNM, where we hope to continue to highlight the best the independent creators have to offer. Thank you, and keep reading.
This has been a WLNM podcast.